Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Color of Money podcast. I am excited this week. This is your co-host, Julia Lashay speaking, and I have all of my guys with me today. All of my brothers are in the house. We've got Emerick, Bo, and Daniel today. And guess what? Guess what? We have y'all didn't know I had a fourth brother. I got a fourth brother that's joining us on the call today. His name is Charles Holloway. Are you the senior, the junior, the third?
The senior.
The senior. There's a lot of them, but he's Charles Holloway, the senior, and he's joining us today to talk about leadership. And of course, if you've listened to this podcast, you know we've got some phenomenal leaders on here. In fact, Bo Menkiti is often a legendary in the leadership space. So, Bo, I would love if you could introduce Charles, because I think you know him in a different way than we do, and kind of talk to us about what leadership looks like and introduce Charles and all the great things.
Well, it's quite a privilege. Thanks, Julia. It's quite a privilege to get to have Charles today alongside my amazing co-host, because this is a gentleman who I've got to see build, create, and deliver on a mission and a value proposition and lead the people around him. So, Charles has been in the business for 13 years. He's a licensed broker, a real estate agent, but more importantly, he's an amazing man and a leader who has built quite an organization, a number of businesses that we're going to have a chance to explore today, and really built a group of people around him that he has brought together and motivated to make quite an impact in the industry we're in. So he's not just a top producer. He's not just someone who's built his own brokerage from the ground up, but he is somebody who I think it has been really an honor to see, not just achieve and perform, but to really grow as a leader over the last decade plus. So, Charles, really excited to have you with us today.
Excited to be here, Bo. Excited to be here.
Well, maybe just to kick it off, and then I know my amazing co-hosts will have better questions, but I always like to start with sort of the origin story. And if you can just take just a quick minute and tell us, how'd you get into real estate? How did you actually get a license and start down this journey? And what prompted you to do that?
Man, I got prompted to get in real estate because of the Good Boy Network and my disdain for it. At the time, I was working for Verizon Wireless. It was the busiest store in Washington, Baltimore, Virginia, and they had just went through a refit. And we went from one location, try to keep up sales and go back to another location. And I just knew that I was destined for promotion. And unfortunately, because I didn't go out with the good old boys, drink and do all that politicking after work, I got passed up. And at the time, I was reading Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it was talking about never let all of your income come from one source. And I think my disdain and frustration with Verizon, the company, the leadership at the time, created such a disdain to me. I said, man, forget this. I'm going to go into real estate. I'm going to be this big time real estate investor. Little do people know, I was watching $1 million listings at night, and I kept seeing these commissions and all that good stuff and these cars and them being fancy. I knew I had to be able to do something different, right? I'd never be skinny like them guys was, but I knew I can get the cars and the money. So I was like, all right, I'll take my chance. I'll roll the dice. So at the time, I asked my manager, I said, hey, I see this class. You can get licensed to be a real estate agent in 3 weeks. So I literally just took the class and got licensed in 3 weeks to do real estate. And when I did it, I really thought I was going to be an investor. I got licensed. I started polling companies, and it was 2 companies, Exit and Keller Williams. When I came to Keller Williams initially, I was like, wow, this is where the big dogs play. I got a little intimidated. But Exit at the time was a smaller company. It was Black-owned. So I said, at that time, let me support this Black-owned business. And people didn't know about Exit, so Exit would become synonymous with Charles. Charles becomes synonymous with Exit. And she was one of the few people that would take a part-time agent. So that's kind of how it started. And in that journey doing real estate, unless you knew me personally, you didn't know that I didn't thoroughly immerse in going full time. But I'll never forget it. Her name was Carolyn Allen. And I took her to a new construction, Ryan Homes, on my lunch break, believe it or not. And in 15 minutes, I made like $9,000. And I was like, man, this is the life. So I went back to lunch with Verizon and had my head up high. And they can tell that, like, all right, he's not all in on the KPIs and all that good stuff for Verizon. And they always say you'll remember the day you were born and the day you die. Well, July 9th, 2013 was the day that I hung it up with Verizon, because I started to have an internal conflict that here it is, people are trusting me with the largest decision of their life, and they don't have my undivided attention. So I began to feel guilty. So it was that was the day that Verizon and I decided to part ways. I hung it up. And I remember that day seeing 2 people my wife and my twin brother. I went to my wife at the time at the bank and said, honey, I'm done with Verizon. So she was like, huh? What do you mean? She was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm done with Verizon. It's over. And she was like, okay. But as a woman, quite naturally, she's going to think about stability and security and all that good stuff, right? So then I called my twin brother, and he was like, hey, I was like, hey, I'm done with Verizon, man. I'm just focusing thoroughly on real estate. He's like, what are you going to do about the kids and health insurance, man? I said, man, there is no plan B, a distraction plan A. And little do they know, them two people in the world can make me go from 0 to 10 real quick. And there a little bit of hesitation why I feel it was valid. It served as fuel. And I said, I'm going to prove them wrong. And it was from that day forward, boy, I just kept kicking and I never looked back. And I was just determined to, and one day I just did the crazy radical thing that says, I got on Facebook and said, I'm going to be the #1 real estate agent in the 757. I'm a big proponent of putting it out in the universe and it'll bounce back. And the rest has been kind of history. So that's how I got started, man. It was in somebody else's rejection, created a platform for me to say, you know what, I'm going to blaze my own trail. So sometime when I tell people all the time, sometime when you don't have a seat at the table, get your own table. That's what I did.
I just want to repeat something you said. You said there's no plan B that distracts from plan A.
Yes.
That hit home for me right now. To what extent did that desire or ability to sort of go all in on something affect the early part of your career in real estate? And how does it affect you today?
It affected a great deal. I mean, all you guys are leaders in your business in a great right. And you know that when you are a leader and you run the organization, there are sacrifices on other ends, right? And I used to feel guilty. When I was home, I felt guilty that I wasn't working. When I was working, I felt guilty I wasn't at home. So I had to come to the realization there is no such thing as balance, right? I had to be present where my feet was planted. And one day I just had a conversation with the wife and I said, listen, I just need you to trust me that for the next 5 years, I want to sleep, eat, and breathe real estate. If you allow me to get lost for 5 years, and I truly believe you can change the trajectory of your life in 5 years, if you're focused, you'll start to see the remnants of it in 3 years. And I just said, I was just going to get lost. And I'm a big fan of Kobe. So it was like a Mamba mentality. And I just locked in. And I was just infectious on being a student of the game. And I remember how I met you, Bo. It was I saw an Outfront magazine with Keller Williams. By this time I joined Keller Williams. I'm like, who is this black guy on the cover of this magazine? He's on the cover of a KW magazine. And I was like, I got to meet him. So I took that magazine and at that point I read on your story and I was like, I got to get in the room with this guy. Somehow. So I was already crushing on the Bo Menkitis before Bo knew that I was crushing. So then you and then the Allens of the world, then I found out about Emerick. So when you want to be great and have a will to be great, you get around people who already embodies those things. And I think for some reason or another, people believe you got to reinvent the wheel. No, what you have to do is you just have to be tenacious and go around people who are already where you aspire to be, right? So you kind of got to see it before you get there. So I knew that having a bigger business is what I wanted. So I was like, look, I got to get in a relationship with this guy. I got to get in a relationship with that guy. And we got to make it happen. And when it didn't happen in my local area, I had to go out and go get it. You know, so Bo, I appreciate you allowing me to be in your all hands day, your all teams days, and taking me in under your wing and just giving me a little nugget. You don't know how invaluable that is. Or Emerick saying, hey, I believe in you and your ability to speak and cultivate an audience. Hey, come up here to Maryland and let me see it. And it's like, wow, it's over 400 agents in this brokerage, this black brokerage. So it shows you what is possible, you know, and you just got to hit your wagon to those people. And the good thing about that is those people, they're busy, right? They're busy. So you got to show your worth. And you got to be serious. You can't get at the seat of this table at the feet of these people unless you on your stuff. So, you know, I just felt that I was on my stuff. I wanted it. I keep knocking at the door. You're hungry. And then one thing I know about people that are great leaders, they love to align themselves with other great leaders or leaders that are emerging, right? So I think that can't be understood. Hopefully that answers your question.
I think one of the fascinating things that a lot of people, it's a recurring trend that you find your mentors, you find the people that you want to chase. One of my good friends told me you have 2 people that you're chasing, you have 2 people that you're leading, you have 2 people that you're lifting up at all times. And I think it's in this world that we're in today, I think people get lost with who they should trust or who they should follow because everyone's an expert right now. Everyone's on social media doing the thing. And, you know, finding your circle, finding your family, I think is super important with just being inspired. Understand there's something bigger, something better out there.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Daniel. And one of the things I think that never goes out of style, and I think especially now with the realm that we're in society and real estate, right? One of the things that never go out of fashion is being a leader of people, right? If you look at professional sports, you see coaches losing their job, not because they X's and O's. You want good people. You didn't galvanize men to say, hey, I want to go against the other 53 men on that roster and pound them out, right? And I think that's one of the few things that never go out of style is as a true leader, you have to be engulfed in wanting to inspire and being a leader of people. And your people skills have to be better. So I can see all the TikToks and all the reels in the world, but that will never rob from the thing and the fabric of our great country. And that's being about people, and all great leaders want to hitch the wagon and inspire other people, So I just want to say that I'm in the people business. People say, what do you do every day? I make friends. That is the business that I'm in. That is what I focus to perfect. Getting into a relationship with people, that never goes out of style and never gets old.
That's exactly where I was going. I was going to the people side of this conversation because, like, a lot of times we talk about what we do as a leader. The real question as a leader, because you're out in front of some people, how do you lead other people? How do you get other people to come into that space to accept you as their leader? And how do you become that, for lack of a better term, guiding compass to help them or inspire them to just be better?
I think I'm a big person in the universe. And I think sometimes people don't succeed because they don't invite others. Right. And it was one of the trainings that Bo's trainings, right? Career visioning. And there's something in that I learned. I do it, we do it, they do it. Right. And I think far too long when you do the I do it, it's about you, but there's no invitation to invite others to come and be partners, right? When you see them as your equal initially, because I see you as my equal because I know that we're going to hitch our wagon to something even more greater. And I think once I stopped focusing on Charles and what Charles wanted to do with his accolades, and I really focused on let's the we do it. Let's get together. Let's be partners and let's grow this thing bigger than we ever thought was possible. And it was putting an invitation to the world to say, hey, I'm ready to not do this alone, but I'm ready to develop others where we can go and take bigger territory, where we can do things on a larger scale, a bigger mass. And I think that comes down to the individual. Do you really want to just feed your ego? Or do you really want to make an imprint on society and the culture in such a way that this thing outlives you? And I think that is the realm and where I am as an individual and as a person. And that is what I had to determine that I wanted my legacy to be. I didn't want my legacy to be the top sales agent. I want my legacy to be that you left a residue and an imprint on all things real estate that they will know and look back and say, this guy hitched not a wagon to great sales performance, but hitched a wagon for others to believe in what is possible. And now, instead of him being the only one in the room, there's a slew of us. We're knowledgeable, we're competent, and we really can take command.
Okay.
I got a question for everybody on this call, because I think that sounds amazing, and that sounds, and for getting in business with the people that you can hit your wagons and stuff too. The thing I'm struggling with as a team owner, as a broker owner, is what about the people that don't want to do the work? We're at this weird spot in our industry right now where the old ways weren't working, and so I can't motivate people. I can't motivate you to want to go do what you want to do. So is it a matter of just finding the right people? Is it a matter of I don't know. It's a struggle in my leadership journey right now with trying to get people motivated or committed to do the work and see that there is this bigger thing that we could build together. But I can't do all of it. Like, I need your help, and we need to go do this thing together. And we got to make phone calls. We got to talk to people. We got to meet people. How do you solve that?
I just saw Bo lean forward. I hear it coming. Go ahead, Bo. I saw you reposition.
Nah, it just hit home with me because, I had this moment in my journey, and I'm really grateful. There's a guy named Jason Holt, and he was on my sales team, and we were probably 2 years into the journey. And I used to have these retreats, and so I took everyone out on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. We had this great day. I thought it was all motivational. We're gonna go build the largest sales team in the DMV. We're gonna open a brokerage. We're gonna do all this great stuff. And we had to drive back because there wasn't enough room. So me and him were staying over in this little dinky motel down the street. And I pulled my car. He had a separate car. I pulled into the parking lot, and Jason Holt walked up and knocked on my window. And he said, "Hey, you got a second to chat?" And he said something that really changed perspective for me. He said, you know, that you're talking to us about climbing a mountain, and we're excited about your energy to climb the mountain, and we really want you to climb the mountain. But did you ever consider that some of us might not want to climb the mountain? That some of us are happy where we are, that we're actually excited by what we did last year, we don't actually want to do anymore? And it was a breakthrough moment for me where I realized that, like, I've been collecting a group of people that I liked, people that I loved, people that I thought were good human beings. And I put this team together and I say, okay, let's go. We're climbing a mountain. It's going to be great when we get to the top. And I forgot that half those people didn't even want to climb a mountain. They didn't have no camping gear. They were happy in the valley. And so I had to change my perspective, which in some ways humbles us, that as leaders, we're only so motivational. So I need to go find people that want to climb the mountain already. And I got to be a vehicle to help them get to where they're going versus be the one providing the motivation that's going to motivate the non-mountain climber to climb the mountain.
But you know what? And the reality is that you can't motivate them. You can only inspire them. And I believe that's where we have a challenge. We keep trying to motivate people, and you can't motivate people because if they're not willing to do it, it's nothing that you can do to make them do it. Motivation comes from within. I think, Bo, you said this to me. You said something to me about trying to save everybody before. Because, you know, and I've been called the Harriet Tubman of real estate. Jason Fenwick.
Follow that Underground Railroad.
No. So my partner, Jason Fenwick, said that he told me, he said, you can't save everybody. It's some people that just, it's nothing that you can do. You can put everything out there on the line as much as you want.
There's a song about that. What's the, can you save them? They don't want to be saved. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Different meaning with that song, though, Julia.
Okay, never mind.
Different type of saving, Julia. Different type of saving.
Never mind.
We won't be doing that one, Julia.
My bad.
Yeah, and that's what you have to understand. Like in that leadership role, is some people, some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. You can't take everybody with you. And I had to learn that the hard way, and I had to buckle down and just say, hey, I'm gonna put it out here. Those that want to take it, I'm gonna pour into them. Those that don't, I'm not gonna expend my energy and working to inspire them to do something that they don't have the motivation to do. Because they don't want it. They don't want to climb the mountain, Bo. They just don't.
Yeah. Well, Charles, I got a question for you about this, Charles. Like, you've been sort of a great galvanizer of human beings. Like, what do you think it is about the way you operate that's brought? So I want to kind of two-part question. One, what do you think is about the way you've operated that's brought people together so much? And then two, when you think about all the people that are gravitate towards you, who are the ones that you really, really value? Like, what are the things that you're looking for when you're looking for, like, the special people in the group that you're gonna really bet your future on?
I want to backdoor into that, Bo. I think they're two great questions, right? To piggyback off on the last question, one of the main reasons why I decided to start a brokerage was because I looked at it, I said, Charles, I was trying to put together a 5-year strategic plan. And I said, Charles, if you continue with this strategic plan, having a team, I got tired and exhausted in trying to have a team and giving your all. And there was no assurance that it will be reciprocated and people will make the calls, do the work, yada, yada, yada. So now I didn't spend 4 or 5 years thinking these people were going to make out to be whatever, and then they decide to go do something else. Oh, I'm going to go be a manager at a restaurant, right? So that's time wasted. So I said to myself, I said, Charles, if you only had 5 years left, and I literally treat it like I'm about to go off a cliff. If you only got 5 years left, what is the biggest and the widest net that you can cast? And for me, that was starting a brokerage where I could use my personality, continue to be who I am, and be a vessel to give what I've learned, but cast a wider net and make friends. And the people that want to come will come on if they come in, is my mindset, right? So they will come if they want to come, just build it. So, and it's no longer, because I had to realize after reading Gordon's book, The Energy Bus, when we take things personal as leaders, like we want people to be great, we want them to be better than they can be. If you guys remember in ATL, when T.I. looks at his brother and say, I want you to be great more than you wanted yourself. I kind of had that as a real estate moment. And it was deflating and it drains your energy. So I understand where you're coming from, Daniel. Like, it's like a rat race. So I was like, yo, just cast a wider net. And in doing that, Bo, it backdoored me into your question. I operate in the sense that I'm going to freely give everything that I have. And I think the problem that we have is so many people get something and their fists be balled up. And what they don't realize is when your fist is balled up, while you think you're holding on to what you have, the truth of the matter is you're limiting the ability for more to come in. So I always said, as a leader and as a broker owner, I want to have my hand open. Everything that I have and everything I've done down to the T, I'm going to tell you exactly who did it, how I did it, what was the fruits of it. If it was horrible, I'm going to tell you that too. And in having my hand open, not only do I allow more to come in, but I'm giving. So there's always a surplus and nothing ever runs out, right? So those are the people that I like to be in business with and attract. The people that say, I'm selfless, I want to gravitate, we're building something, we're aspiring something, not necessarily just real estate, but we're using the real estate platform to do something far greater. And the people that I covered the most, believe it or not, we just this past weekend, Bo, and I pride myself on being an innovator and a trailblazer. We just hired a staff position as a chaplain. You know, and I did that, and I was in prayer about that because I understand that one thing about my clients, my database, people are always getting married, people are always dying. There's this huge thing right now with mental health, right? And so many other things going on. So why not just Charles go out front, but why not Charles have someone who's clergy? So when those needs arise, not only can Charles come, but somebody from my organization can make that call, show up and be visible, right? So I'm trying to attract the people that can service our community for the greater good of what it is that Charles is trying to do. And I want to know when they see that H and the E, it becomes synonymous with love, serve, care, and community. So I need to align myself, and the people that are important to me in business are the people that embody that. Do you have a
Can I just wind that back for a second?
Yes, sir.
Can I wind that back? I just want to wind that back for a second. So my man just said he has a position called chaplain in his sales organization. Like, what's the duties? Like, what's the job description?
So we do a lot of.
What's the got incentive plan on the chaplain? Like, how does this work?
We do a lot of benevolence, right? Like right now, October is January for us because we believe in the 90-day rule. But right now, we do a lot. We do, like today, they got movie night with Uncle Charles, right? So one of the things that we've incorporated with our organization is that we pray, right? I'm unapologetic. That's just what we do. You don't have to, but we do. So that's one of those situations where our chaplain would take the lead on that, right? So it isn't Charles. So it's kind of like you get to be who you are, but you hide yourself so it's not off-putting to everybody because I'm still a business person, right? So they will go and do that. And here lately, just people have been popping up out of here today, gone tomorrow, right? So we knew that there needed to be something more than just send a chicken to the house of roses, right? We're about relationship and we're about family. So what is something that can set you apart and show your true leadership? And my true leadership is that of caring and compassion. And I can't be that at all times. However, my heart and my business want to be that. So then you employ somebody who can do that. So as a leader, I sacrifice compensation or profit that I can stand to gain to better serve my clients and help a greater need. Can you imagine the teenager just seeing in our area recently, a teenager just got shot at the bus, dead? Do you know how many children are hurting? That those children may be children of our clients. And I want them to know that we have a resource. So there's no retaliation, right? There's no gun violence. But at the same time, if you need to vent, I may not go to mom and dad. Well, you know what? Uncle Charles and his organization has somebody that I can actually talk to. And as long as it's not suicidal and you're going to harm somebody, it's confidential. Because again, I'm not in the real estate business more so than I'm in the people business. I want to perfect people. And that's the leadership. So like I have my clients, but my clients is also my agents. And I don't call them agents, I call them partners, right? But just so we have that context. So I just thought it was necessary, Bo. I just think with what we see, there's still reminiscences of George Floyd. Like as business owners, Black business owners, we're not always okay, right? There's some barriers that have been created. There's some stances that we had to take to stay true to our identity. And there may be some repercussions and some backlash, right? So now more than ever, we need prayer. We need Jesus. I just felt that, and, sometimes as leaders, you take the risk. and there's great reward, or it's a risk. But I had to feel good about myself and knowing that we were able to do it. So I don't know if she's going to marry anybody, but that's my hope. If two clients get together and get married, boy, that'd be the first. You know what I mean? That'd be the first. I'm here for it, though.
Love it.
That is trailblazing. I don't know that I've ever heard of anybody saying that they have a chaplain in their real estate business. But again, like you said, it's not just about real estate; it's about people.
Yep, for sure.
So for the people who are listening, of course, this podcast is called the Color of Money Podcast, and the idea here is that we're helping people build wealth by listening to things and guests like yourself who come on here. And specifically, you've been talking about leadership today because you're a great leader. How does great leadership tie into the conversation of actually building wealth? If somebody tuned into this today to say, I wanted to hear what Charles had to say because I know he drives a fancy car. How did that happen through leadership?
I truly believe your gift make room for you, right? And if you're a leader, you're charismatic, you galvanize people, do that and do it exceptionally well. And every opportunity and everything that has come my way has come organically. And that's why when it comes and it's here to stay and it doesn't leave. Because I didn't try to go be somebody else. I didn't try, while I can admire Bo, I can admire Emerick or Daniel or even all of my other counterparts, I'm still true to Charles. And by staying true to Charles, everything that comes my way has come because it organically came. And what happens is you put one foot in front of the other, and then next thing you know, wow, this is an opportunity. There's an opportunity. Here's an opportunity. But when the opportunities come, not only am I ready to seize the moment, I don't have to worry about or stay up late at night looking over my shoulder, is it going to leave? Because of how it came. So I always just tell most leaders and people, like, stay true to who you are. Your gift will truly make room for you and create opportunities that you never thought possible. I never envisioned a real estate brokerage, a title company, right? A host of rental properties, right? Or a property management sister company. All of these things came organically because I was staying true to who I was. And what is that true? I want to help more people than I get credit for. I want to service a need. And along the way, Julia, I just noticed there was a need. I saw that clients had properties that they couldn't sell. I didn't want them to short sell. So create a property management company, right? I didn't like how you do all this work and you get to the end and the title company wasn't nailing the landing, right? So create that, right? And do it in a way where it still embodies you and you stay true to your identity of being about people, about family, about love, serving, care. And that's how my fortune came. I tell people all the time, I want to say all of the doors that I have come by way of clients. Either they wanted to bless me or I literally had an honest talk to them and say, hey, my retirement plan is these properties that I acquire over time. Do you mind selling it to me if we can come to a deal where you get what you want? And I've garnered the trust and the respect where they didn't feel, Julia, that it was me looking out what was in my best interest or being self-serving, but it was me saying, hey, I know you're going to sell this to someone else. Do you mind if I take the plunge at it first? And in a crazy kind of way or in a God kind of way, they actually said, I'd rather sell it to you. I help empower your family because you've been such a blessing to me. And so that's what I mean when I say, your gift will make room for you. So every single property I have, with the exception of one, came from a wholesaler. But can you imagine that and going back to your clients and say, you helped me build my legacy, you helped me do this, and you helped me do that, and I'm going to pay it forward with all the things that I do to help not only my family, but other families alike. So that's my authentic answer to that.
So I got it. One quick question. I got the natural extension of property management. I got the natural extension of title. What's up with the cosmetics? Were you trying to look good? While you did it all?
You know what?
Like, help me understand this.
That's the wife's business, and the cosmetic line is hers, right? And so often, what I understand and what we do is I'm a man's man, both like through and through, right? But what we realize is that sometimes we would go and I had this epiphany this year. It's really hitting me hard. And I'll be a bit personal. You go out and you build this phenomenal business, and you have great success. And we say it's for our family and for our kids, right? Or our loved ones, our wives. But if they don't truly feel it, was it really for them? Can I stop everything and spend time with them? Or can I be in tune to all their games or their needs for me, even when they don't say it? And I had to realize, while Charles, you out here blazing this trail, building a phenomenal business, what does the wife have that she can say is her own? What can she say that, you know what, I too have that entrepreneurial itch. I think it's hard to be around me for 13 years, 22 years altogether and to not be infectious, right? And it was what I learned in it, Bo. It was kind of showing the house to the house. So while I was a part and I'm a co-laborer in it, that was her baby. So she was staying up late, having to work some weekends, having to fit clients in. All the things that I was going through and I was taking a little flack for. And I'm now sitting back saying, no, honey, go right ahead. I understand. I'm an entrepreneur too. So that's her labor of love. That was her thing that she was able to do with her and our daughter. It's been successful. It gives her something to do. It gets her in front of people. It is something that she can kind of say is all her own, right? So that's where that came from. Now, it's funny, though, when I'm out and I see Julie, I was like, Julie, you really beat your face today. Oh, you got on lashes or you did this? And people be like, is he a perv or what's going on?
You don't say it nice like that. You be like, oh, look at you. You drew your eyebrows on. You don't say it nice like that.
But it's only because I'm in the business now, so I see it from her business. So I'm like, oh, she did that. So, crazy.
That's great.
On that same note, lastly, we talked about leadership. You talked about the several businesses that you own and leading those. I always like to hear you talk about your family because I know you're a leader in the home. You love your wife, you love your children. Is there anything that you would like to say as far as it relates to leadership in the home, in the Black community, before we close out today?
Nothing is ever perfect, but what we get to do and be perfect is always remember the origin. Right. And I think so many times with Black families, things are fractured and life happens. But when it's fractured, that will be what it will be. But remember the origin. At one point, you and I love each other. We had this bond or whatever. Right. Or kids didn't ask to be in certain situations. So what we do get to perfect is I'm going to be a man. I'm going to be a woman. I'm going to stay true to the origin of this is something that was created in a great space. And I nor anybody else have the ability to crush it. The only way we lose is if we give up. So I'm never going to give up on being a great father. I'm never going to give up on being a great husband. I'm never going to give up on being a great man to society or doing the best good that I possibly can. And I think sometimes we let feelings and emotions get involved where it robs us of our true identity of being great people, right? And I just wish that we all can continue to be great people, irregardless of whether we have something to gain or have something to lose. Because the origin of everything is we should be a better people than where we are. That wealth gap shouldn't still be where it is or getting larger with more technology and more innovation coming around. That means that the origin is fractured. And sometimes you got to ignore the noise and the chaos and stay true to, I want us to be better. And I always tell people, when you really love somebody, when whatever happens, and you still love them and want them to do well, you hit your wagon to something great. And that's really how I see it. Love wins. So that's it. That's all I got. I know, Julie, I'm in a different space. 2 months ago, I would have said something different, but this is kind of the space I'm in. So I want to give people.
No, I love it. I love it. And I love it. And anything, what's the one thing you want listeners to take away from listening to this conversation with you today, Charles?
Leaders lead. True leaders lead irregardless of the situation or circumstances, good, bad, or indifferent. Leaders find a way to come out on top or get the absolute best out of people, situations, and society. They don't complain. I tell my kids all the time, you can't control the hand you're dealt. Just play it to win, regardless. Just play it to win. And leaders find a way, play their hand to win. They're not braggadocious. They don't keep score. They just lead and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, there you have it, friends. The Honorable Reverend Charles Holloway.
I knew it was coming.
Thank you, Charles, for joining us, as always.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to say before we let Charles go today?
No, I thought it was great. Great conversation.
Great conversation.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I'm humbled.
All right, friends. Tune in next week for another great episode of the Color of Money podcast.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not KWRI and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.